Welcome to ASHB's quarterly Smart Building Council webinar meeting. My name is Marta Klopotowska, and I am the Programs and Communication Manager at ASHB. I'll be emceeing the slides today. Please note that today's webinar meeting is being recorded, and we will be circulating it for those who registered, along with the presentation slides. Quick look at today's agenda. We'll start with the call to order, welcome, introductions about the Smart Building Council, or SBC for short, go over a few administrative tasks. We will go over some of the research that ASHB is conducting or has recently completed. And then we will move on to our keynote for today, the evolution of NextGen smart buildings with Brian Haines, Senior Director Strategy for OpenBlue at Johnson Controls. And then we'll go over a few of our programs here at ASHB, our podcast, white papers, research library, journal. We'll move on to some new business where anyone on the call today can bring up anything that really is happening in the space, some announcements, and we will adjourn. And with that, I will pass it out to Bob Allen, SBC Chair.
Great. Thank you, Marta. I appreciate all the efforts in the background to put this together, and appreciate our membership for attending on a quarterly basis, and certainly appreciate the vice chairs that support as well. I'm Bob Allen. I'm the chair of the SBC with NAVCO, or Security Integrator. With us today, we have Robert Lane, our vice chair from Lane Trusted Advisors, and Chris Larry, vice chair from EXP. And usually with us, not today though, is Harsha Chandrasekhar. So great to have you guys, and certainly a special note to Ken Wax for his contributions as well. So, as most of you know, ASHB is a Smart Building Council. We were established in 2001, and we focus on the large building automation industry through cutting-edge technology research. The council, which meets quarterly, reviews opportunities, strategies, and oversees initiatives related to systems integration and automation in large buildings. Its projects aim to foster next generation of smart buildings technology, enhance building performance and energy savings with a comprehensive approach. So with that, Marta, do we need to do a call to approve the minutes? Okay.
No, so, not a call. Well, mostly just we'll go ahead and consider them approved if nobody has any objections.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So our past minutes of the August 6th meeting is at www.ashb.com/SBC. I believe you can go back and look at even meetings further back than that. They will be considered approved unless objections are raised. Are there any objections to approving the minutes as posted? If no objections are raised, the minutes are approved by consensus. Great. So with that, I will pass the baton over to Greg for a research update.
Actually, Bob, we're going to pass it off to Robert Lane
first.
Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Greg's not here at the moment, Bob.
I can do it as well if you want, Robert. It's up to you.
Oh,
all right, Robert.
Go ahead. You can do it. You can do it. Well, ASHB launched its 225 landmark research project. It was entitled Smart Buildings, Trends and Technologies, and it was adopted earlier this year. The project has gained support from about 16 funders, and we certainly want to express our sincere gratitude for their valuable support and guidance. The research really utilizes surveys from about 300 commercial building owners and operators in both the US and Canada. And we've looked at topics such as cloud-based building management systems, the smart building software landscape, digital twin, artificial intelligence, and lastly, smart building monetization. Always the biggest problem, how do you monetize all this technology that we keep talking about? The project was valued at about 80,000 US, and it's going to be released, I guess, to the funders who funded the project the first week of December. And an executive summary will be available the same week of December the 1st. And final deliverables, if for those that want to purchase it, will be available in April of 2026. And if you want to learn more about it, just reach out to us, or you can look at the website at admin@ashb.com. Greg, over to you.
Thanks, Bob. It's yeah, so this is the next project is on our annual BACS, Building Automation Control Systems Market Sizing Research Project for North America. This is we're closing up a 5-year project and then starting it again in January 2026, all focused on the North American market. So this was originally brought forward to us through Siemens and the need for really accurate market data on building automation controls and related. Essentially, we got all the funders on board, most of the largest control companies, and they're sharing their market data in various different areas. And then we're anonymizing it and working with BISRIA to create an annual research project so people can determine their market share. If anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about this research, or if you're one of these companies that have funded it, we can always provide those reports to you. And if your organization is not here and you're involved in BACS and you want to get involved for the January 2026, and we're doing I think a 3-year term, and there's still open opportunities to get involved. So we're looking at things like software, like supervisory software, some analytics and energy BEM software, looking at hardware, looking at BAS protocol gateways and BACnet SC hubs and things like that, and also some controls, like controls for room controllers and even HVAC field devices. So we're looking to continue this, and hopefully it's going to be an annual project for many years to come, and it's been very well received. And I guess this next slide here is we're expanding it into Europe. So we're looking to do a BACS market sizing project for Europe. So we have several interested parties, and we're trying to firm things up and try to get this started in early 2026. Pretty much the same sort of format, with different players in different countries involved, and we're still working out the logistics, and then trying to do a European project with many of the companies that you'd see on the screen here. So if you're interested to learn more, feel free to reach out to myself at walker@ashb.com or Marta, and we can give you a little bit more information and even arrange a call. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Greg. What a great opportunity to get your company's logo next to some of the giants and leaders in the intelligent building industry. So let's move on to our keynote. Today we have with us Brian Haines. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm really excited, and thank you to ASHB for such a warm welcome. I'm really excited to talk about my view of the smart building evolution and why it's really picking up momentum. So I'm really excited to share that today, Bob.
Awesome. And Brian is the Chief Strategy Officer at FM Systems and is on the Johnson Controls Digital Solutions leadership team. Brian brings more than 30 years of experience in software solutions and technology specifically aimed at optimizing building performance from design to operations. Prior to moving into software, Brian was a maintenance technician in the U.S. Navy and then space and occupancy planner and analyst while completing a bachelor's of architecture from the University of Arizona. Man, you've been a busy guy.
I have been a busy guy, and it feels like yesterday, Bob, that I was doing that education, and how quickly time moves and how quickly our industry moves. So it's really fun.
Sure does. Blink of an eye for sure. So the title of today's presentation is The Evolution of Next-Gen Smart Buildings. And today, Brian, at Senior Director of Strategy for OpenBlue at Johnson Controls, will explore how the rise of smart buildings is transforming the built environment through data-driven insights and aligned with evolving customer needs and priorities. He will share real-world examples and use case studies showing how advancements in building automation are creating more sustainable, efficient, secure, and comfortable facilities. Brian, before I turn it over to you, just a little admin note to everyone online listening. There's a Q&A option down at the bottom of your screen. If you do have a question, please type it in there. We'll be monitoring that as we go through. And if it's something very pertinent, Brian, I'll probably interrupt you to kind of throw a question out there. If not, I'll try to hold them all till the end, and we'll take care of them at that point. So enough with me talking. Brian, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I've got a lot of slides to share, and I know I've got about 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to be really crisp with this and introduce kind of my perspective on the evolution of smart buildings. What I think is fantastic is that organizations like ASHB have been advocating for smart buildings for more than 2 decades. And I've been following the industry. I've been part of the industry, both on the design operate side as well as the technology side for most of that transition. I'm seeing a number of different things happening over the last decade that are really accelerating the way that smart buildings are starting to become accessible and pervasive, not just to facility engineers and specialists in smart building, but really everyone who interacts with buildings. So let me just go ahead and get started. So we obviously, as part of Johnson Controls, are part of the organizations that support ASHB. We're one of the largest industrial manufacturers of building control systems in the world, as well as, most people don't know it, but Johnson Controls owns 1,500 brands, and many of the capabilities, many of the components that go into our buildings that help them become smarter are all produced by companies that Johnson Controls owns in a very big way. So really excited about that. I love being part of this organization. I love being part of this industry as we see essentially a sea change in the way that things are being perceived. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the evolution of smart buildings, because sometimes when you're very close to the problem and you're very close to the solutions that are going into the industry, you make an assumption that most of the buildings on the planet are smart or are getting there. The truth is, probably 99.9% of the building stock in the world is not very smart. It's what I consider to be legacy buildings, some standalone systems. They may have been constructed 25 to 100 years ago. I've got a specific client that's making a building smarter that's almost 1,000 years old in the UK as part of a university retrofit. So it's really interesting to see sort of the breadth, but assume that most of our buildings are really not that smart in terms of the way I think about it. And I'll talk about that as we go through. Really, over the last, let's say, decade or so, we started to see buildings become more connected. And I'm just going to go ahead and build this out. And as we go on our smart building journey, starting about 10 years ago, some things happened that I'm going to talk about that I think are massively accelerating the way our buildings are getting smarter, and something happening right now that's absolutely enabled all of this. And I'm going to talk about that. So really, I would say right now, we're kind of in the third pane there, the smart building evolution, where we're seeing intelligent and coordinated workflows. We're beginning to see the emergence of AI-based systems. I'm going to talk about that quite a bit because that's the secret sauce. We'll talk about how most building systems are integrated with discovery. In other words, the buildings are becoming self-aware of the systems that are installed. And then we've got cloud integrations really enabling all of this. I will tell you that most of the large companies that such as Johnson Controls or the others who are partners of ASHB that we are in competition with, we're all moving towards the last pane here, autonomous building control. It's sort of the brass ring. It's where buildings, as I say, become our partners and less of our problems, where we actually can communicate with our buildings in a way almost as if we're connecting to or communicating with someone on our facility staff or in anywhere within our organizations. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why we're on that path. I think it's a very exciting path. I also think it's a time where a lot of people within our industry have a lot of questions, and I'll try to answer some of those as well. So normally I build this slide out, but due to time, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this. So about a decade, when I started to first implement, IoT-based solutions for doing things such as measuring the utilization of space or maybe indoor air quality, the devices that we were shipping out to clients were typically done for studies. And those studies were, you would install a couple of hundred IoT-based sensors to measure utilization or measure things like indoor air quality, et cetera. And their battery life was 2 weeks, maybe. It was really a problem because essentially we would send it out, we would do a short study of an area, And then the client would have to pop those sensors off, send them back in a box. We would take all of the data. We would produce a nice PDF report and send it to them in 30 days to tell them, over that, let's say, survey period, how their building was performing in a number of different ways. The real limiting factor in that time was power. I mean, we weren't really in the PoE era. Batteries didn't last very long. We didn't have real battery optimization on devices the way we have now. I heard a gentleman talking earlier about homes moving to DC-based power. I've seen that on a fairly large building scale. I've seen a lot of really interesting things. I went to a smart building in Atlanta a couple of months ago where I saw 4,000 low-power devices powering 4 floors of a smart building, and nothing was plugged into 115-volt AC. So we're really seeing this optimization of power as something that's really, I think, was one of the founding elements for really pushing us forward with smart building technology. Any building can be smarter now. I could take a 1,000-year-old building, like I was saying, start to implement IoT-based technologies or low-power technologies, and I can make that building. I can make any building smarter. A decade ago, it was primarily for base building design and construction. In other words, it had to be a major consideration if you were doing a capital project, if you were going to be building something. But now, due to the pervasiveness of a lot of this technology, and over the last 10 years, we're now seeing low-power devices that I was talking about that were lasting a couple of weeks, now lasting 5 to 10 years. That's really important. That's important in a number of different ways. One is because these devices get installed and they need to be maintained, makes them much less of a maintenance issue. And they're on all the time. They don't take vacations. They're communicating at the millisecond level. They're sending massive amounts of information into the cloud and allowing us to really measure the performance of just about any building very, very quickly. I've got a lot of this technology installed in my own home. I am not that highly technical, but it's so easy to connect. And that's number 2, connectivity options. Back in the day, if you were to install a printer driver, if you guys remember this, or walk into a conference room and you didn't have the right plug for the projector, it was always a problem around connectivity. Now, for the most part, we have plug and play, not just at the IoT level, but really at the building control level. We've got smart building systems now that are becoming incredibly easy to install and set up. The third is broader acceptance. 10 years ago, when we first started putting these devices in, people were really, really worried about things like privacy and security. Like if I had a sensor show up above my head or maybe something that looked like a camera, I was going to get really nervous that maybe my employer was spying on me, or I didn't really know. There's a lot broader acceptance of a lot of these technologies as they all come into our homes, into our workplace. I mean, my goodness, all of us, when we're driving down the highway and we use things like Google Maps to tell us, where there's going to be a traffic jam up ahead. It's because we've given Google permission to use our phone, and all of the drivers around us, everyone's reporting in sort of with our phone, how fast your phone is moving. That's how they understand when things like traffic jams occur. So we're getting this broader acceptance. Also, we've got about 5 different generations in the workplace right now. My son, who is a 29-year-old environmental engineer, has a very different idea of privacy than I do, as being someone who's probably much closer to the end of my career. So he just assumes that he's not anonymous. He's grown up in an internet world. He's okay with that. He provides his data all of the time. Doesn't mean you've got to be careless about it. It just means there's broader acceptance, which means these kinds of technologies are beginning to make their way into the end users in our smart buildings. Not just building engineers, not just people who are smart buildings experts, but end users are starting to interact with this system. The next is connected systems. So now it's not just about a single IoT device. It could be hundreds. It could be thousands. It could be your building control system, your access control, safety and security, cameras, everything. Even things that help you to better understand how long the wait line is in the lunchroom. All of this technology is now coming together in what I call connected systems. Now, the thing that's the challenge here, and what has been the challenge, is that every single one of these things on this line and all of those connected systems and all of those little IoT devices, they are producing a lot more information than humans can consume. And so we need help. I don't see a lot of facility organizations right now hiring a ton of people. And we've got a lot of really smart people who have a lot of information in their brains who are aging out of our industry. And they're taking that information, that knowledge with them. Really, where the cavalry is going to come into play is here. And it's really about the AI revolution that is now doing some amazing things. I don't know if you've all noticed, but we've been we've been using tools like Google for more than a couple of decades now. Type in something into a browser and you get a ranked list of results that match your criteria. About 6 months ago, Google AI, in other words, AI took over Google in terms of the way we're receiving information. Even if you're using a web browser like Chrome and you're typing, have you noticed that the first response you're getting now is an AI response? It's not a list of links that someone is paid to make their way up the page. It is AI that's providing the answer. And most of the time that answer is pretty good. And it cites where all of the information is coming from. So what's happened is that we've seen everyone in the world now is actually interacting with AI in ways that it's not invasive. It's really easy because it's natural human language, and we're getting what feel like natural human responses back from really large, intense data sets. And that is, I think, the number one thing that's going to power this hockey stick motion in terms of smart building uptake. I really believe, well, you can actually do this now because I've seen it. Well, you heard me say earlier that our buildings are becoming more of a partner than they are problems. You can act like you're Captain Kirk on the Starship Enterprise now, and you can actually ask your building questions, and it's going to give you answers. It's going to tell you how it feels. It's going to tell you what corrective actions it recommends. It's going to tell you where space is overutilized, underutilized. It's going to tell you where you have too many hot, cold calls. It's going to allow you to optimize set points in your building control system so that comfort is increased. It's going to understand that when bad weather comes in, we need to change the operation of our buildings ahead of time. This is what AI is enabling, because essentially what it's doing is taking massive amounts of inputs far beyond what humans are good at. And listen, I'm not dinging on humans. I have been one my whole life, but I understand the limitation of my ability to be able to take in really complex data and draw up, essentially insights from that. And that's what AI is providing to us. So Gartner predicts that by 2028, 33% of enterprise software is going to include agentic AI. I believe it's a lot faster than that. Every single software company I talk to, including the one I'm in, they're full tilt working on agentic AI solutions right now. It's estimated that 15% of day-to-day decisions in smart buildings will be made autonomously by 2028. Our own Metasys solution, as well as solutions from our competitors, are already now releasing AI-based capabilities. We've got one now in our Metasys solution that's allowing the systems to actually try to self-heal when they've got a problem. If they've got air imbalances, they've got things that are stuck or things not operating properly. Just a year ago, it was really about automatic dispatch, fault detection, the ability to be able to do alarms. But now the building control system is actually trying to see if it can solve the problem and keeping human interaction in that decision-making process. But it's actually starting to become much more autonomous. And you're going to see this really pick up speed. 85% of enterprises are expected to implement AI agents by the end of 2025. That I absolutely know. I use tools like ChatGPT and Copilot every single day to make me more efficient, make my job better, help me to be more responsive. And as end users, and I'm talking about the people who occupy your facilities, not just your engineers and your facilities team, but the people in your facilities, as they get more interaction with AI, they're going to expect more information back from your buildings. I need to know what's available right now. I've come into this office. I've never been here. Wayfind me, automatically badge me into the parking deck. Let me get through the front door. let my host know ahead of time that I'm going to be going to a meeting on the 3rd floor. And oh, by the way, it's the first meeting of the day. So bring the air conditioning up to a nice level for the occupants. Turn the lights on, make it comfortable. And when no one's there, automatically turn it off. Massive, massive energy savings, all realized because of AI. So here's a couple of use cases that I've specifically worked on recently. One is demographics and weather data versus utilization. I had data scientists look at a 2-year period of NOAA information, National Oceanographic Administration data around weather utilization, and we laid that over top of about 20 million square feet of building utilization, where we've got sensors installed. There's an absolute direct correlation between weather and utilization. Makes sense when it's rainy or it's snowy, less people come in. But when a building starts to understand that, it can alter its behavior so that it's ready for it. If I know it's going to snow on Friday and my utilization is going to be below 10%, why am I turning on 100% of the building? Let's turn on 10% of the building, and let's optimize where people are going to sit for the day if they're going to come in. That's just one use case. So weather data has absolute correlation to utilization. Dynamic restacking. This kind of goes hand in hand with the weather data. In other words, if I know Mondays and Fridays, which are historically the lowest utilized parts of a building during the week, Tuesday is always peak when you look at massive data sets of building utilization. Why am I powering my building, a 13, 15-story building, at 100% when 10% or less of the people are going to actually be there? Indoor environmental factors. Did some research in this area using indoor air quality sensors across a vast array of space. What we're seeing is that one of the #1 reasons why people select where they're going to sit, if they have a choice, is access to daylight. I didn't know that was going to be the answer. Intuitively, I may be drawn to areas where sun's coming through the window, or if I've got the choice, I might go sit there. But really what the data is saying and what the building is saying based upon human interaction is that people make choices about where they want to be based upon environmental factors often when given choice. And that can include things such as access to daylight. Maybe I'm a developer and I don't want it to be light. So I'm going to go sit someplace where I've got better screen visibility because I like it to be a little bit dark. Or maybe I want it to be quiet. Maybe I want it to be loud. The building can tell me those, and I can make more informed choices about where I sit. So that's another interesting one. The other one is, which I love, this is a big one that Johnson Controls has really been focusing on, is actual energy usage versus actual utilization. And this is fascinating because if you've got a building that's used 50% utilized, which is actually very high, I know most people don't believe that, but 50% utilization is above average. And I've got another building that's identical, that's 10%, but yet their energy costs are the same. Something's wrong in that equation. In other words, the building that's utilized 10% should be much lower energy costs. Humans put loads on buildings. We know this. When they come in, they turn lights on, they do a lot of things. But as our buildings get smarter and understand the way we interact with them, we can proactively turn things on and off. I can do things such as I know when I'm going to have a meeting, put the blinds down. Maybe it's in an afternoon and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and the sun's coming through and it's going to really heat up that room. Instead of using that increased energy cost to condition that space to keep it cool, maybe I'll automatically lower the blinds. Maybe I won't turn the lights on until right as someone shows up. Maybe I won't condition that space. I won't turn the projector on. I won't do a lot of things when no one's there. I'll also automatically perhaps turn things off after cleaning crews have come through. Often we see, crews come in during the night and they flip all of the lights on the floor, and lo and behold, those lights stay on until the next day. It's all something that the building now can start taking care of. I think these are all fascinating AI-based inputs. We're also seeing the ability to be able to take telemetry data from all of the systems within the buildings, and this is helping us to take this information and place it into the hands of not only the operators, but the occupants. It also allows us to do really nice things, such as also integrate that data to all of the other systems that we may have. So if I'm an occupant, I may be able to walk into a building, I walk into my office, and I may be able to just say out loud, it looks like my lights aren't working. That can automatically go into creating a work order. It can interact with me through a dialogue standpoint. I've seen this, which is fascinating. I may be a low-tech individual, and AI will step me through the process of asking me some questions to help me troubleshoot that problem. And once I get to a certain point, it may say, it looks like you do have a problem. Would you like me to find some help? And it will automatically dispatch a mobile work order to a technician, maybe rolling on a truck, and then come in and solve that problem very quickly. This is all about seamless interaction between the building and the occupants. And it's all because of the massive connection of data and then the absolute insight that AI, artificial intelligence, can provide across all of those very complex interactions. Okay, so a couple of use cases. I'll just give you a few here. Like, why is my water bill so high this month? I could say that to AI or type it to AI. And if it's got access to the information, my water bills, how my building control system's operating, maybe how all my meters are reporting in with water flow meters, I may be able to instantly identify that there is a toilet on the third floor that's just been running. You know, the water's been running and no one's reported it. How bad is this alarm before I pull someone to investigate? Maybe it's just an intermittent alarm that's not that important. But what if it's something like a leak detector picking up something that could be, you know, a real problem, toxic? Perhaps I've got a space where CO2 is always at unhealthy levels. These kinds of systems are going to allow me to be able to investigate and get answers on potentially really complex questions very quickly. I love the last one. How do I balance reducing my electrical consumption and utility costs? Asking your building, asking your portfolio, how am I going to solve this? What are the right set points for temperature where I can provide a really positive experience for end users that may also allow me to inch that up a little bit so they still feel comfortable, but I'm also saving thousands of dollars in energy costs because someone's not just turning it up and down all of the time based upon whims. I can get to better outcomes for my occupants. And AI, as well as smart buildings, which are I think are really kind of converging, if you will, allow me to answer those kinds of questions really easily as an end user. So this allows me to bring in, I'm going to kind of speed up here a little bit, allows me to bring in a number of different functional areas. Workplace planning and management. This is where you think of your facility professionals who are doing things like space and occupancy planning and real estate management. They're participating in this smart building world. Energy efficiency and sustainability, all getting their input. So sustainability managers, energy managers. Over on the right are equipment performance and operations efficiency. So those technicians, people rolling the trucks, people maintaining. And then ultimately the end users and how they feel about the buildings that we are providing to them for their use. As also more importantly, for the use of the organization to meet its mission. If I'm a healthcare organization, providing better healthcare outcomes. If I'm a university, providing better education outcomes. If I'm in manufacturing, providing an optimized manufacturing atmosphere. Whatever that may be, for the occupants as well as the operators, it's incredibly important. And this, I think, smart buildings are going to really create an absolute sea change. You know, I love the experience of walking into a building and the building knows I'm there. And it just gives me information based upon what it knows I need that day. Here's what your itinerary looks like. Here's where you need to go. You want to go to lunch at this time because the line's going to be shorter. You want to meet Bob in the afternoon in a space that's quiet because you want to have a private meeting. It's going to be able to tell you these things based upon these smart building interactions. And this area, what we're seeing, the convergence of all this, is absolutely creating what I believe is a smart building revolution. Here's just an example. Smart buildings can be part of smart portfolios. And this example, and what I mean by that is that, you know, when I talk to facility managers, often they have, especially senior facility managers, it's not just one building they're worried about. It may be a campus, it may be a region, it may be a multinational, and they've got buildings all over the place. We know those buildings were all built at different times. We all know that they have different capabilities. Some of them have different building control systems you may have acquired. You may have settled on a certain vendor, but you've acquired some buildings that had a different system in there. You shouldn't be forced to change to choose all the time. You should be able to have a solution, a smart building solution. In this example right here, this client had 12 building management system platforms, and they didn't want to have to log in and out of 12 different building management system platforms. So the technology is now available through, organizations like JCI, but others as well. Some of our competitors have these the same capabilities. I'm an advocate for, a rising tide floats all boats, for this entire industry to move up and for us to provide smart building solutions to our clients, regardless of what they may have. This client also looked at not just bringing the BMS together, but looking at energy efficiency and driving that across all of their real estate portfolio, not just the ones that had specific building management systems, but all of them, as well as being able to deliver better data-driven maintenance decisions to help them maintain and operate their buildings more efficiently to provide a better occupant experience. So this allows me to focus on 4 different areas, as I was talking about earlier. Energy efficiency and sustainability, where we're looking at things such as decarbonization, rising energy costs globally, and regulatory pressures. All of us have these requirements for us to be able to report our compliance. This is incredibly important. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. Equipment performance and operations efficiency. Smart buildings allow us to be able to do this. Reduce productivity obstacles, such as, I heard someone talking about this earlier before everyone joined the call. Finding skilled talent, it's a concern across our industry, as some people with a lot of information in their brains are aging out. Rising costs, volatility, a lot of things happening globally, which are creating rising costs, regulatory pressures. We should be able to provide better operating facilities with streamlined costs by using things like smart building technology to be a force multiplier for us as facilities professionals and people who are really interested in the smart building space. We need force multipliers, and we need help. And the help is on the way as we think of our buildings as our teammates, right? That's the way I love to think about it. The next one is workplace planning and management. The ability to be able to do agile space planning based upon massive data inputs. Buildings are being utilized in really complex ways right now, and it's very difficult to be able to measure their performance. It used to be I could walk onto a floor 2 decades ago in a assigned seating world and look across and immediately go, yeah, we're about 90% occupied today. Now it's completely chaotic, the way people use with return to work mandates, hybrid, remote workers, everything. We're highly mobile in measuring the performance. Then we've got AI-powered maintenance and smarter utilization of not just our space, but assets within those spaces. Think about incredibly expensive medical equipment that may need to be utilized across multiple functional areas of a healthcare facility. Being able to understand where it is, who's using it, when it's available, and better optimize and increase the utilization of that and keeping its uptime optimized is absolutely a game changer for those industries. All right, the last one is workplace experience and productivity. I really believe the end game is not just to make our buildings smarter and more energy efficient, but it's to elevate employee experience. It's to maintain and attract talent. It's to provide a really beautiful experience when somebody comes into the office and they love the space, they love the light, they love how they feel. They're more productive, they're healthier, air quality is better, wellness is all enhanced based upon all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and end right there because I think I'm about...
You nailed it.
I was right on.
Yep, you are spot on. Thank you, Brian. And we did leave a little time for questions here too. So if anyone does have questions that you have not typed into the question and answer section down below, please do that now. Brian, the first question is, does Johnson use Optimum Energy Hartman Loop for chiller controls, and does it make economic sense to repipe for this?
It is interesting. That's a really good question, and maybe a little bit beyond my ability to understand. We have tools like our central utility plant optimization product, which is 100% AI based for optimizing those water flows. We look at airside and waterside optimization. We've been looking at that, and we provide solutions that can help with those. Beyond that, you'll probably get a little bit beyond my technical ability to be able to answer, but I'll certainly follow up with someone who can.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
A little bit less technology specific, but someone asked that how can we have the intelligent building rating systems like Building Intelligence Quotient, Smart Score, and the RSI in Europe be more used to educate the building owners on the benefits beyond the energy, but all the benefits like you talked about today?
Yeah, I love that. That's a really great question. It's about part of it is internationalization of standards. We've got things like WELL and all sorts of standards that are being used fairly heavily. We're huge advocates of using those standards because it allows us to have a level playing field in terms of the way we measure performance of facilities across a number of different functional areas, not just like energy usage and sustainability, but indoor air quality, healthier outcomes, all of that. It's very difficult in a fragmented world where those standards can be used either locally or where they're enforced locally. We've got certain parts of the U.S., for instance, like New York and California, which have established standards for building performance from an energy standpoint and are adhering to those and making them part of the mandate. But then we've got other parts because we are a nation of varying, let's say, ideas and compliance requirements. It makes it quite challenging. I believe that it's a big part of us as industry leaders with not only organizations like Johnson Controls, but also organizations like ASHB to really advocate for those standards so that we can all be on a level playing field about the way we measure building performance.
Yeah, thanks. Good question. Good answer. Brian, a lot of what you're doing here, the output is energy reduction, cost savings within the building. And I'm sure that type of conversation is a lot easier to have with a building owner or the decision maker than is the narrative, the story about, coming in the building, as you talked about, stuff like that. How are you finding the receptiveness of decision makers when you try to explain that experiential impact of what you're doing?
That's a really good question because it really comes down to the organization itself and its mission, vision, and values. I will tell you one thing that we're seeing emerging is within organizations, the smart building title, it's actually becoming a thing where we've got the director of smart building technology or the director of smart building solutions. And we're seeing that globally beginning to pop up within organizations. And those kinds of organizations typically look at a more holistic view of the way that smart buildings are providing them value. And it's not just about energy is kind of low-hanging fruit, Bob. It's an easy one to optimize. We've gone through this in a number of different ways in our industry. We had the whole light bulb replacement going from incandescent to LEDs. That was a real simple no-brainer. It saved everybody a lot of money. Things are lasting longer. So that's a really easy one. What we're seeing in highly competitive environments, as well as organizations that set goals, such as providing a better workplace experience, we're seeing them attract talent at a much higher rate than organizations that don't have these kinds of values. And we're also seeing them retain talent. And we're also seeing, and we're looking at, in the industry is looking at productivity. It's healthier, better buildings are providing better productivity. And once again, I know it comes down to dollars and it comes down to optimization because most of the organizations that we deal with are in business for one reason or another. But it does come down to that ROI. We are seeing broader acceptance. And I can tell you this from the amount of RFPs and RFIs that we come in every single day. There are three things that are driving those right now. One is AI. If you don't have AI in your response, you're out. Better user interface and interoperability and ease of use. In other words, we are now extending our capabilities beyond engineers, and we're down to people who simply need to walk through their facility with a phone and get value out of the data coming from the building, right? That's another one. And awesome. The third is we're hearing it all the time, workplace experience. They want to provide a better environment.
Yeah, so it sounds like versus quantifying it, it's more of a cultural thing with the customer and knowing your
It is.
customer. That's great. I
Yeah.
got time for one more question for you here. Only it have to be a little bit of short answer, but I think you can do it. Is most of your innovation focused driven on AI or algorithms, which you kind of answered that already there, or are there still some hardware innovations within the space that you think the industry needs?
That's a combined question because most of the hardware that we're developing right now has AI at its core. It just simply
So it
does.
really is a marriage
Uh,
of both, huh?
yeah, it is. It's a marriage of both, and most organizations are working right there.
Awesome. Well, Brian, really appreciate your time today. Super insightful. Thank you, all the our attendees, for some great questions. And really looking forward to watching buildings roll out in a completely changed mindset. So
Great. Thank you so much.
awesome. Tough to follow that up, but we are going to with Chris Larry to talk about our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to take a moment to highlight the ASHB Smarter Homes and Buildings podcast series, where industry leaders and innovators can share practical insights on the technology shaping smarter, safer living spaces. If you're one of those people who are interested in being a guest or hosting an episode, we're always looking for subject matter experts to join the conversation. Please reach out to us at admin@ashby.com to get involved. In the latest episode, ASHB CEO Greg Walker sits down with Louis Parks, CEO and chairman of Veridity Security, for the first installment of a three-part series on building cybersecurity. You can access these recently recorded episodes by visiting our website at www.ashby.com/podcast. And now I'll turn it over to Ken to talk about the white papers.
Thanks very much. This is Ken Wax. I have been the chair of the ASHB Smart Building Council White Papers Committee. We have a long history of publishing custom developed white papers by you, the members of this council. We are looking for volunteers to take the opportunity to get basically publicity at very low cost for your work. Our white papers tend to be about 10 pages in length. You can do multiple white papers on a topic if you wish. For example, you could start with an overview paper and then a paper that focuses on your technology and another that focuses on your market development. So we are open to any suggestions that fall within the broad scope of the Smart Building Council. So please forward your proposal to Marta, and she will reach out to me, and I will help you assemble a committee to work with you. You would need to take the initiative, propose the topic, and provide the initial work, and we will have a committee to help you advance it into a white paper. I also want to mention that we survey the industry for publications produced outside of ASHB through the Publication Review Committee. We have almost 1,000 papers in our library that are vetted to make sure they have a specific interest in the building and home space. We make sure the paper is current and that it is not an advertorial, that it certainly can mention brand names and company products, but that would be in the context of solving a more general problem. There are plenty of good papers in our library, and we continue to search the industry. Everyone in ASHB is welcome to participate, and we reward you for your participation by offering you $25 credit per paper review towards ASHB products and $25 in cash for your time as a token of appreciation. I also want to mention that CABA has the journal, which is high quality papers that are put out there by members. I have been writing for the CABA journal almost since inception about 30 years ago. It's gone under different names. It was the CABA journal, it was iHomes and Buildings, but it still has the same high quality standards and gives you an opportunity to write in depth on a topic that's relevant for homes and buildings. So thank you very much. And Marta, shall I mention the presentation this Friday on Passive House?
Sure, let's do that, Bob. I think we're on to new business anyway, so I think we can get right into it.
Oh, sure. That's great. Take it away then, Ken. Keep going.
Thank you very much, Bob. I have been chairing a committee called the Customer Grid Edge at the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. The Interstate Renewable Energy Council, or IRAC, advocates for the solar industry and works with regulators to make the rules and regs reasonable to encourage the installation of distributed energy resources, primarily solar, but also covers wind and storage. At the Customer Grid Edge, we look at all things behind the meter, and I've been conducting a series of workshops since 2020. We are having our meeting number 100, our 100th meeting this Friday, and the topic is Passive House. I actually have a workshop leader, a featured speaker, who will discuss a building that he constructed in the city of Boston that is not only the most energy efficient building in Massachusetts, but has become the model for a passive house building to be followed by regulation now in the city of Boston. I just put on the chat the access. The meeting we're holding tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern is open to everyone at no charge. Just follow the link. Don't know if the link got through all right.
It did. Yeah.
I see some of it underlined, but the last row is not. But
so make sure you copy that whole link.
Yeah,
and put it
copy
in your
the
browser.
link, and you can also go to zoom.us and click join and put in the meeting ID and the passcode. So hope to see some of you tomorrow, and thank you very much, Bob.
Thanks, Ken. That's some great stuff. Hopefully we get a lot of members that join you on it. And really cool to hear about the building in Boston too.
I'll just build. We have a passive house in Hamilton that literally is one of the passive house retrofits of an existing senior home.
Very cool.
If I may, Bob, I just want to say that one, I'm part of IREC with Ken, and but I'm the chair of Ontario's Sustainable Energy Association, and we're having a virtual and in-person event on Monday. It's part of Climate Change Week in Canada, and there are discount codes, and I might be able to, as I say, if I could put in the chat, I could put in the link. We're on LinkedIn. We're advertising it. But is it a remote? It will be recorded and it'll be on our YouTube website. And we have things on critical minerals, on disruption to the energy system, but also all the programs that the utilities are providing for grid interconnectivity. Our smart building has to be a grid interactive building. And many of the issues that are about energy and storage, we have to participate with the utility that we're connected with. So I'll share that with you, and I put in the chat also our free building intelligence quotient pilot that we're doing as well. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, no question with that connectivity into the grid. Absolutely. So super stuff. Some great resources there. Some great opportunity to be a part of some other opportunities in the energy sector. Awesome.
Just want to mention I reposted and everything got highlighted now, so you should be able to click on it.
I do see that too. Thanks, Ken. Awesome. So at this point, I will ask the council or the rest of the council if there is any other new business. Now, that can include anything from new keynote ideas to new white paper ideas, new projects to discuss, or even adjustments to our quarterly agenda. Marta, I'm hearing that it's perfect.
I think so too.
That's
well. Let me bring something back, Bob, because there was supposed to be an like, as Chris and I found out yesterday, it's about who are we training for this industry. In many cases, the people that are retiring that know their buildings better, we got to take their brains and putting it into AI because. So I think there was an opportunity that we were going to do some training, or there's many incentives of in training that is available to fund these things, and maybe ASHB should look into it again.
Great. Appreciate the suggestion for sure. Awesome. Any other ideas coming from the group? And if you don't want to speak up now, you can certainly email myself or Marta or Greg, any of the other vice chairs. Going once, going twice. Okay. Chris, you want to take us into our announcements?
Yes, I will. Thank you. So this is an opportunity now to talk about some upcoming events. There's a lot of conventions coming up. We'll mention a couple of them. If there's any that we don't talk about here, make sure you bring it up to Marta and we can get them on the list. The first one is the Building Show, which is in Toronto. It's the first week in December 3rd through the 5th. There's a Lighting and Intelligent Building Show in January 12th and 14th in Dubai. And then there's a BICSI Winter Conference and Expo, which is in Orlando, January 18th through the 22nd. And then the big ASHRAE AHR show in February 2nd through the 4th is in Las Vegas. And ASHB will be hosting a board meeting there and a dinner, and we'll have a booth at the show. They also will be moderating a panel and hosting 2 educational sessions with Harbor Research. And then the final one is DTech, which is Distributech International, which is in San Diego, February 2nd through the 5th. And I think that's all we have, so I'll run it back to you, Bob.
Thanks. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here to wrap up 2025 and kick off 2026. So that, for the most part, concludes our agenda for today. The meeting notes will be posted on ashby.com/SBC. So feel free to check those out, as we will accept them in our next meeting. Look out for the invite there. It'll be sometime in February 2026. With that, I hope everyone enjoys the holidays that they celebrate and have a wonderful new year. Thank you for a great 2025, and super excited to see how technology is going to change, how adoption is going to change throughout 2026, and the input from our awesome members here on the Intelligent Building Council. Marta, thank you for everything you've done for us as well.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Bob, and thank you everybody for attending.